Hello, everyone. Adam here from Three Count Radio, and today I have, I think we can all say, is the gentleman of pro wrestling, Mr. PL Dotson. How you doing, mate?
Good evening, salutations. Yes, I'm excellent. Thank you for having me on. I'll be as cordial as I can because I know there's some of the disgusting mouth breathers who'll be listening to this and watching along, just to make sure that they all know that I despise each and every one of them.
You've been told. How you doing? How's your day been?
Yeah, do you know what? Really good. Away from wet wrestling this weekend, so just being out with the family. Done a few little bits with the family now. Saturday night TV as it's come back to its glory years. It's reminds me of being a younger lad myself with things like gladiators and that on. So when we finish this up, I'll go and sit downstairs with my little one and we'll watch a bit of gladiators.
Beautiful.
Fantastic! Finally, a bit of performance is back on. We're probably about a year away from actually having Saturday night wrestling back on ITV. So you you live and dream, don't you?
Yeah, one can hope. One can hope. Bloody
Yeah.
hell. That's a nightmare to try and actually sit and watch that, isn't it? But yeah, I never really watched Gladiators when I was younger. I might actually get into that.
Do you know what? Like I had um, a lad who I used to go to school with when they rebooted it,
Yeah.
who was one of the newer gladiators, and obviously like Nick Aldis was on there as well at the time.
Oh.
And do you know what? Like there was elements of the newer one, sorry, of the last one when it just didn't work because it was a studio situation rather than it being an arena. And
Oh.
this newer one's great because it's a proper throwback. So yeah, I'm quite a fan of it at the moment.
Yeah, you can't if you're gonna rebrand, like recreate something that's such a made name, you need to get it right. You can't stick it in a studio and go, "Oh, this is our product," because people no,
People
and
people
they'll
people like
turn off.
me will be critical and throw their opinions all up. No, I'm sorry to anybody who loved the more recent version of Gladiators. However, this one and the one when I was a kid, which is a long time ago, was excellent.
However, you're all wrong, basically. So, Mr. Dotson,
Yes, sir.
might be a possibly generic question, but I like delving into the past of different wrestlers to try and get a history. And what was it to kick it off? What was it
History,
that inspired you to step in the
history
ring?
for me. So, I was always a fan of wrestling. As far back as watching World of Sport, I'm old enough to remember the original version of World of Sport on ITV. The seen that when I was growing up. So like 1983, I was born, so it was quite a while ago. So being 5 and 6 and 7, I do remember that being on TV. Um, like events like SummerSlam when it was over here in Wembley,
Yeah.
stuff like that really kind of just kind of hook you into it just because it was close, so close to home. And then when you start getting Sky TV and what have you, and that was always one of them when you recorded, you taped it. I
Yeah.
still say taped in our house, but for those who are younger, the younger generation, that means that's Sky Plus, but with a video. You put that
Yeah.
in and recorded stuff on there. Sorry for those who already know, who are 80s, 90s children like me.
And you
Um,
had to rewind it every time, or else
every
you'd
time.
start exactly where you left off.
And who wants that? But no, so as a watcher, I've always been an avid watcher as a younger lad. And then as a teenager, I kind of came away from it a little bit when I went to university and what have you. And then did my university bit and came back home. I'm a teacher by trade, a PE teacher by trade. So then when you start having your own house and things like that, you get your own Sky, and I become an avid fan of it again. And then what actually got me into wrestling, as I mentioned earlier, before we started recording this, I was 20 years playing rugby and then 4 years playing American football. So I was a little bit older getting into it. But I had the opportunity to get into it through the white collar program through PCW up in Preston. where I was trained by Sheikh El Sham and a number of other guys. We did I think it was a 12-week or 14-week training program to be on a show. It was a charity-based thing.
That's great.
I got into that because we lost my mum at that time. My mum to bladder and bowel cancer.
I'm sorry to hear it.
Do you know what? It's so good because there's so many people who are aware of it and who are really kind of who were supportive of it at the time. And we packed out the venue. It was great, and we were on in the main as well. Me and one of the other guys, we ran a tag team with, and I straight away, like the opportunities that are afforded to you, got to wrestle CJ Banks and Danny Hope in the main event, which was amazing. And they were the PCW tag team champions at the time, so we the story went that we'd actually beat them and we'd get to stand there with the belts and all that. And it's, you know what, if that's the end of your story for some, that was great. Obviously, we didn't. It was a bit of a dusty finish, and the guy came out and was like, "Oh no, it wasn't a title match and all that." But yeah, for if that was the end of the story, that was great. However, that wasn't the end of my story, and that just got me kind of going even more.
Mm-hmm.
I live in St Helens, and at the time there was a training school, which was run by the venerable John Kenny and the classic Kieran McConnell, two gentlemen who I attribute my love of British wrestling, British catch as catch can style wrestling to. Very inspirational to the kind of the thing that I'm putting out there. And then in more recent years, a lad called Tom Doolan and John Kane both took that on. John Kane and Liam Carr, who I now work for under the guise of Infinite Promotions. That's one of the other places that I wrestle now. And yeah, train obviously up with the guys at LWF. It's been quite a journey, and obviously the amount of matches and things that I've had and opportunities that I've been afforded and people who I've met along the way. Like, wrestling's mad, isn't it? The amount of people you see. And I was at a Progress show a couple of months ago, watching Mike Bird in a multi-man match, which he then won. Like 2 weeks ago, Mike Bird eliminated me from a Royal Rumble, like a Battle Royal. Like, that's mad. That to have been there and now be on in almost like peers with him, and he's a gentleman as well. So yeah, sorry if I've rambled on a little bit, but yeah, the story is it's quite an interesting one, I think, anyway, from where we've got to now.
You know, I hear that apology quite a lot. I never mind.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely fine with it.
Belter.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. A wonderful cause as well for charity to get you into it. It's, as you say, it's a mad world. Wrestling's a mad world.
It really is.
It can, you're training and then you're a champion in like what, a blink of an eye and things like that. It's just,
and it's so fast as well. Like, it's I'm probably where some people would probably start saying, right, well, maybe start time thinking about kind of winding down a little bit. I feel like the way I wrestle and the thing that I put into the character and what I can offer places, that I can probably do a good couple more years as an active wrestler, and then still contribute from a coaching point of view, obviously, as I mentioned, because of my background in teaching, and even if it was just involved in promoting or the running of a show day as well. I do feel I've still got a good couple of years in the tank as a performer, God willing, and all that. So yeah, it'd be it's cool. It's like you said, it's mad wrestling.
It's mad but beautiful.
Yeah,
but it's one of them. Like, your style is very old school, very very old school, classic British wrestling, and I think with a lot of people wrestling a bit more of a, I want to put this in a polite way, but like more brash and dangerous manner.
mm-hmm.
Your style of wrestling is a lot more careful and like, I can't think of the
Methodical.
word.
I've been described as methodical before.
That's the word. That, there you go. I'm the host. Great. Yeah, methodical. That's the one.
Yeah.
But it's great because there's a lot of character to it. And I
Mhm.
like gimmicks like that that have a lot of character. And because I feel nothing against anybody, no shade or anyone anywhere, but I love character driven um storytelling and
Yeah.
wrestling personally. Because I just like the likes of Undertaker, Kane, Bray Wyatt. Wyatt's a massive right there. I think with the light on it, so you can't actually quite see it. But um, massive inspiration, man. So I'm a very big, I'm very big into character. But like
Mm.
while I was talking about darker characters, yours is more classical and old
Mhm.
school character, but it's still character driven. And it's a lot. Like when I was talking to my mom, there's like hints of aided English and Regal and things like that, which is what I like. Both of us instantly gathered from your character.
No, I appreciate that. I feel like so it's one of them things where I've spoke to other people about it, and the kind of the where my character came from is um so obviously, as I say, I'm a teacher 5 days a week. So as you can imagine, there's a little bit of annoyance and um, fury, as you might say, from your general day to day in the week. The I like to kind of keep. I love a promo. Like I feel like because of the teaching side of me, I'm a natural kind of like orator. I
Yeah,
can talk and what have you. Um, so I love a promo anyway, and I feel like the promo thing is one of the reasons that's kind of got me to the dance, if you like. Um, but no, like Regal, Spike Trevay, who I think's just amazing on the British scene at the moment. Like it's aspiring, aspirational, inspirational, that kind of stuff. But I'm a big thinking like rather than it just being wrestlers. So I look at Homelander from the boys quite a lot,
mm,
just because that is that like all you need, all it takes is what a person to have a bad day, isn't it? And a bad day can become a bad month, and a bad month can become a bad year, and then all of a sudden that's the person you are. Um, and yeah, the facial stuff that I do, and the using the kind of broad lexicon, and it's almost this like better than you. So I look at like the MJF stuff that he was doing originally. So like Spike, as I say, Spike Trevay, Regal, um, MJF, even further classic, more classical stuff, as I say, British wrestling stuff, and then the Homelander stuff as well. Is that like I will speak to you like this, not because I'm interested in whether you understand me or not, is because I'm going to continue to show that I'm better than you. I'm
yeah,
going to out wrestle you. I'm going to, no matter who I'm on with, I will still always try and do some of the classic British wrestling holds, if you like, um, because I feel like that helps really tell a story, and it's kind of different shades, people's matches. You can go in with someone who is more of a striker or someone who's a power moves, and then all of a sudden they're back down to your level. We're on the floor and we're grappling, or we're on the floor and I'm throwing someone in a butterfly suplex, or there's little things like that which I feel I want people to actually care about the wrestling side, the art form of wrestling.
yeah.
Um, that was a compliment I was paid on the last show that I did for LWF was I actually got people to care about the wrestling side of it, which I thought was excellent. And the rather than the story of myself and Clash having that clash of styles, which is obviously quite interesting. Um, and him obviously, unfortunately for me, being very victorious. But yeah, the I do enjoy that mesh of styles when I'm working with anyone else.
That was actually on my mind actually that match because it was at Hesketh Bank and I was actually able to stand and watch that one. Unfortunately, it was a touch delayed.
Yeah, a
But
little bit, but
interrupt.
that was all added to the flavor. It all added to the final, not the outcome of the match, but when we did actually get going, people, it was it's being first on, isn't it? And I do feel like when you first on
Tough.
a show, you're almost you're telling the story, aren't you? You're laying the table, you're setting the table for the rest of the night,
Yeah.
and there'll be some people who say, well, you're trying to show people who to cheer for and who to boo for. Now,
Mm-hmm.
everybody knows to cheer for Clash because that lad's really, really over there. So I honestly, again, I'm gonna use that thing. He could have been wrestling a mop that evening. It's just helpful that I've got that like sneer and that looking down my nose at people and what have you, and being confident when we did have that little breakdown in the ropes. The guy saying to me, "Do you want the microphone? Do you want to cut?" I said, "No, I'm fine. I'll just walk around and insult everybody." Which was great. And then we obviously did the hard reset. I'd actually said, "I'm going to put all my gear back on, all my clothes back on, and make it like I'm leaving." And then Clash can get me back in there and we can start up. But no, we kept it as it was. I changed my jacket though, which was
Yeah.
on me anyway.
It was brilliant. I loved the crowd. There's phenomenal. They didn't care. They found it quite fun,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's one of those things. If I was in there anyway, if I was in the ring, I'd be terrified at like losing the crowd. The longer it goes on, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was just funny. And the crowd were great, but
You really were.
you were going around insulting people. I'm gonna guess right for this all, and Dash was going around playing rock paper scissors with fans. Just that on the spot thinking is
Yeah.
brilliant.
And you know what? I'll I'll give him his flowers there, Clash. Like he's quite significantly younger than me. But you can
Mm.
see he gets that, and the more he does what he's doing, and he develops that character even more. Like I do hope you get to watch this Clash. Like we've had a dance now. I do hope there's another dance in the future.
Mm.
Yeah, he does. He definitely knows what he's doing. And we worked really really well together. That's our kind of first bit of stuff. We've done a little bit of stuff together before, but no, it was really good. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it with him.
It was significant, very significant. As you say, clash of styles. He's very, he's a striker, very
Mm-hmm.
powerful dude. I have felt his chop, and he said it wasn't. He said it was about 70%. I was on my knees.
Just lay it in on me, Clash.
Oh,
Throw it in there. Never mind 70%. What 70%? There's only 30 more percent. You might as well give him it all. But that was again. That's it's interesting you saying that about like him being a striker and he's a thrown whatever. And I wasn't meaning to upset the lad at all, and I didn't upset. He took it in good jest. So saying you SmackDown versus Raw wannabe, you little button basher.
yeah.
That's all you're good for. And then we did. We set the tone then of it allowed him to then kind of say, "Shall I have a real wrestle with him?" And I loved it because he said, "Shall I have a wrestle with him, like proper?" And everybody's up for it, and that was great. We did what we said we were going to do. Is um, he on that evening he out wrestled me, outfoxed me. He outfoxed the fox, let's say.
Yeah, it's one thing I do like because I met him 2019 at Extreme Fields,
Okay.
October Extreme Fields. Don't know if it was before or after the pandemic, but whatever. Um, it was at TNT Extreme Fields. It's the only TNT I've ever been to,
Okay.
and I met him there. And it's like an 8 hour long like extravaganza, like
Mm-hmm.
bands upstairs, another few matches, bands, and things like that.
Yeah.
And I didn't, I was very new, very, very new to all of this. I didn't really know Clash. And that's how we got to know each other.
Mm-hmm.
And it was quite fun watching your wrestling friends get more and more intoxicated and more mental. That was quite fun because I'm not a massive drinker, so I only had a couple. They were going mental. It was brilliant. It was fantastic stuff. Yeah, it's I thought like before I even watched the match, like before the match happened, when I saw the card and saw it was you versus Clash for the title, I was like, yeah, massively. Number one, it works. And number two, having seen you before at Mutiny, I felt like you deserve to be in that spot. I felt like it would be like A, storyline purposes, but B, you mesh. It's just one of those matchups.
Yeah.
You know, you just think like fantasy but matchups. It was one of those matchups where you think him and him, you and Clash, it just worked. And Clash is very much like you in a very different manner, very vocal with the fans.
It
Very
was.
vocal.
It was. I think the only other match that I've had of a similar ilk, and I'm going to put my friend over here a little bit. So Lewis Johnson, who goes by the Lim Reaper, great pseudonym. You know from my Instagram and stuff, and from what we've talked about before, I love a nickname. Anyway, I've got more nicknames than Apollo Creed. That's the only one where I feel like Lewis and I've had quite a number of matches, probably not as many as other people, and that's what I've said to a lot of people. Like, I'm by no means the most experienced wrestler, but what I have been is afforded a lot of opportunities and been taught by and coached by some excellent British wrestlers and people who've been all over the world. So I digress a little bit. Lewis has been in a lot of places, as I have. We traveled together to a lot of shows, and we worked with each other and opposite each other quite a lot. When we first, one of the last shows that we worked against each other, we'd done a bit of a program where I went in and insulted him. He was coaching, and I went in. It was recorded. I went in and insulted him, and basically ran him down, that he wasn't good enough. I don't know why you think you're capable of to be a coach when you've not won a match since May of last year, and this was in September of the last year as well. Got under his skin, poked and poked and poked, but that we created this almost like a wave of everybody was for Lewis, everybody was against me, and that is the closest I've had. And obviously with Clash, it was a short. The program's not even continued. That might just be a mere footnote on what we end up doing. I don't know, because I'm not the booker. But what we did with what Lewis and I did, that's the closest I feel we got from a crowd reaction to as I did with Clash the other day. Just because people understood the rules and they understood who they were for and why they were for it and why they weren't for the other guy being me. So yeah, that's the closest I've had, and I put my friend over there because he brought a lot to the table as well as did Young Clash.
Yeah, he's a good lad. Good lad. It was a great match. Like, finally got going. Brilliant match.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you.
A great show.
It was excellent show. Excellent show all around.
Yeah, and I hate to give them flowers because I can't stand them. But as we were talking about beforehand, the main event was fantastic, and I hate to give them flowers.
Yeah,
but the brand were brilliant.
They are, and as I've said, socially and in person, I stand with the brand, surprisingly or not. But yeah, I stand with the brand, not against the brand, and I've floated a couple of ideas by them for future entanglements, let's say, that the brand may end up backing up the loquacious Leviathan, the Savage Gent, PL Dotson. We could find ourselves in crossed purposes in the future. So yeah, let's hope see how that goes anyway.
Maybe you can teach them a bit of class. I think they need it.
The class which is sometimes missed in modern day society.
Agreed. This is a question I don't usually ask people, but I'm curious. What is your opinion right now of the current landscape of the British independent wrestling scene?
I think it's excellent. My thoughts on British wrestling as a wrestler, as a worker, let's use that term. There are lots and lots of opportunities for people who are willing to put the work in. There are lots of opportunities for people who are willing to contribute to a show and no, not. I was told wisely the other day by a fellow wrestler and someone who I respect extremely that sometimes you are Stone Cold Steve Austin and sometimes you are Funaki on a show. And you've got to remember what your role is and what you can bring to that role. So whether you get 30 seconds in a Rumble or you get 30 minutes in a Broadway Twister main event, um, you got to look at what you bring to a wrestling show, bring to a card. Um, the number of promotions that are out there now who are willing to work with people is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I do think for younger people now, and I do think this is from like a teacher point of view as well. There's far more people now being involved in things that are more individual rather than having to be part of a team. Or when you join a wrestling show or you join a wrestling school, you actually become part of a team.
Yeah.
It's still all about yourself or what you bring in with an individual, what you guys are, whoever you're working with in a tag or a trio or an individual or a multi-man. You're very much an individual, but you become part of that team. And I do feel like from people coming in at this end, there's more people who are going to, as I said, be more interested in rather than being involved in formalized team sports. If you're an athlete and you're willing to work hard and put the work in and invest in yourself as well, both with your gear and socially and working with the fans and working with other promoters, it's an amazing time to get into it. I just wish I'd got into it a lot sooner. It's one of them like I wish I'd done it earlier moments, but I've not regretted anything from my wrestling and also from the years that I've spent playing rugby and American football. I've had some amazing times. It's just wrestling came to me a little bit later. So I'm keen to do what I can with it. But yeah, anybody who's interested in doing it, it's no half measures, as we mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
You're in and you're in, and get in for as long as you want to get into it. But know that people are going to work you hard and want you to succeed. And equally, it was interesting you said earlier about like being in a spot for the time. And I appreciate you saying that. My big thing is I will never take anyone's spot I haven't worked for. And equally, if I do take someone's spot and I step over someone or I step past someone as a person, the person PL, not the performer, I'll always, if I step past you, I'll always put my hand back to you. Like I want to help because if the lower card is as good as mid card and mid card's as good as top, then you get this almost cycle of you've got so many main events or so many different feuds because everyone's working at a similar level.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my thoughts on the British wrestling scene as well. There's going to be some amazing, talented people who are probably going to leave it in the very near future, which is a shame.
Yeah.
COVID has played a big deal in that. And people who have been extremely, as I mentioned earlier, like CJ and Danny Hope, I believe are both leaving wrestling quite soon, which I think's a shame. The amount of people who are just like who've been doing it so many years, but are so nice and so willing to work and get people better, like Joey Hayes and DDL and who else have I worked with? Yestin Reese I worked with up at in Accrington for Top Rope for Sheikh El Sham and Sheikh and the guys with the meat wagon and the couple of guys who I met, as I said earlier, like Mike Bird, like met Mike Bird, and it's just like, right, what do you want to do? How good are you? What are you used to? That kind of stuff. Like it's mad the amount of people who are so good at it, but are also so willing to help people who were willing to put the work in as well. It's amazing.
Yeah, we were talking like before we went on, and I said that's last night. I've only gotten about a couple of hours nap because I was on such a high literally all night because I went my first training session back in about 4 years, and you instantly you feel like a team straight away, no matter what. Doesn't matter. You're welcomed.
Yeah.
It's like I was on with because I'm Mr. B's a trainer. And Mr. B, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like whatever thoughts people have on him, the person is an absolute saint, and he will make. So I was everybody else that had been training for like 8, 12 months, things like
Right.
that. They've been training for a while. So like he made me feel instantly well. Cause like, here's Adam, he's new. Like he's it was just fun. And like I learned basics, not to go in too far, but I went far enough to be pushed and things
Yeah.
like that. And like it's great. And you're absolutely 100% correct. It really does make you feel as part of a team.
Yeah.
It
It's
really does.
the guys there at LWF. I mean, I've been to a couple of schools looking for when the school that I trained at here, close by to my house in St Helens, closed. Obviously, you get on the road, then you have to start up and down the place. Chorley or Coppell, I presume, is probably where it's what the locals call it anyway. It's convenient enough for me at home. It's a great atmosphere of the guys there at training. The other places that I've been to, I train up at Claw as well, and that's really, really
Oh
good.
yeah.
The guys there are great, and as I say, I've done a couple of sessions up at Top Rope for the Shake. And again, like it's you want to feel part of something because they're the people you're going to be out potentially working with or working against. So yeah, really props to anybody who's running a school at the moment, and
Mm.
particularly like the guys at LWF and Claw and up there at Top Rope. Yeah, massive props to them. Over at Wrestle Island as well, I've done a bit of over
Yeah,
there. Real props to all those guys because it's probably quite a thankless job, but hopefully people will start seeing those who run a school and then also run shows. Hopefully people are seeing bums in seats and a bit of reparations money because of the time that they've put in. So yeah, big props to anybody who's running a school.
100%. It can't be easy. It really can't be easy. And then running
No.
the show at the same time, like the the transformation LWF has gone under over the past few years is insane. Like they're bringing in local homegrown talent.
Mm-hmm.
They are putting on super shows. They're putting on shows on Fridays, all these different days. They've had like the DDL on there, and they, on top of the main shows that they're putting on as well. So it's undergone such a transformation, and to say I'm even slightest part of it, just even crew,
Yeah.
is just it's amazing to say. It's like I like telling people that my mum brought it up, before training,
Yeah.
and you can kind of like hear it. She loves telling people because she's proud. She loves being crew there because it's just fun. Like wrestling is, I always say it on there. Wrestling's fun, and it's a complete, as you say, it's a complete like just escape. Because I
Yeah.
can imagine, as much as you love the job, I can imagine teaching can get tedious every once in a while.
Yeah, it's tiresome at times. It's extremely rewarding a lot
I
of
can
the time.
imagine, yeah.
And I've got some amazing kids who I teach. I've got some tough
Mm,
kids who I teach, but I've got some amazing kids who I teach. And then you've also got to think from a wrestling point of view. It is that like mix. I think sometimes like I might be the reason my lessons in school might be the reason that kids are actually coming into school. That might be the place they feel the safest. That might be the place that they feel confident enough to talk to me or someone else like me. Equally to wrestling, we might be the reason people are coming out of the house. That might be the most enjoyable thing that they have all week. That's the biggest escape all week. So you, as much as the financial bit from as a performer is great, like you owe them people as well a decent show to allow them to feel things, tangible things, to enjoy the highs and the lows, to see the good guys, the faces, to find get what they deserve, and also to see people like me, you shout the mouth off and call everybody a disgusting mouth breather or a worm or a little wart and things like that. Finally, get their comeuppance at the end, whether it's in that show at the end, like everyone loves to cheer for the goodies. People like to cheer for the baddies. To use a
yeah.
term. But yeah, you want people to feel. It's the same thing like with films and TV and things like that. You want to, if you're getting an emotional response, then you're doing the right thing. And if you're not getting an emotional response, for me, it's not on. Oh, it's the people's fault. It's the Seymour Skinner thing into it from The Simpsons. No, it's the children who were wrong. No, it's it's us who then need to go back and go, right, what can we do to get more in tune with it? Listen to the people who were there, listen to what they like, what they don't like, tune things up, turn things down, that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's the great escape, isn't it, from
Yeah.
wrestling is.
So I was talking to Paul about it, and he said like he wants to train people not just to wrestle, but he wants to train people to wrestle for the crowd because that's that's the and I'm again no shade to anyone. There are some wonderful, wonderful wrestlers out there, talented people, but there are also some people who I think can get maybe in the head right wrestle wrestle to just and sometimes there can be quite a little bit of a disconnect. That's coming from a fan point of view. It can sometimes be a bit of a disconnect because I can understand it. I stood in the ring doing a headlock takeover on Moonbar. Like, yeah, me. Like, I'd be able to do that.
That's
I'd
a big
touch.
boy to take over in a headlock, by the way. That's a big old boy.
It's like, there's something are you serious? He'd launch me.
Yeah. But
Like,
you've got to give people the reason to believe that that would happen. That
exactly.
why would what how would someone? I mean, I'm I like to say I'm average height. I'm human average height at 5'10" and a half or 5'11", depending what boots I wear.
The half matters.
the what in what world would someone my size be able to overpower someone the size of Moonbear or Buster Ellis, who's another one of my good friends and a more I enjoy being his opponent extreme quite a lot because he's a great character as well. Or other great characters like Isaac North, or other great characters like Andre Decker, and people, Ben Reed, or other guys who I work against. When there's a size mismatch, you've got to give people a reason to suspend disbelief that someone my size is going to be able to headlock take over somebody or put any move on them. What Don't do it just because that is wrestling. You've got to do it to tell the story of it. Of someone my size is going to try and technically out wrestle somebody before I really upset them, someone the size of Moonbear, and all of a sudden here comes the big man stuff and he's going to throw me around and I'm going to take that then I'm going to because that's the story, that's the reason it's going to work, not your body slam something, right? What are you body slamming me for? It's got to mean something. If I'm taking someone that size off the feet, it's got to mean something.
It's
Got to be
why the
towards
Andre the Giant Hulk Hogan body slam was so impactful.
exactly.
I remember on the Stone Cold podcast with Big Show. Big Show was talking about Braun, and he was saying like, "Mate, you're taking too many bumps." He was against Sami Zayn, and he goes down on his back, and he's like, he told him like, "Mate, what are you doing?"
Yeah.
Like this, as you said, sometimes it's Steve Austin. Sometimes if you're lucky on that day, as amazing, and I mean amazing as Sami Zayn is, it's not his day. It's against Braun. He is like it's like the Hulk with Loki. He's getting tossed about every which way but Sunday. It's not his day. You need to find like if Braun or someone big like our Moonbill or the Void or Briac Strong are gonna go down. There needs
You've
to be
got
a
to
reason.
be, yeah, it's got to mean something. It's got to be that then is, you don't, and equally, it's not down and then let them get back up. It's down and you stay down. And
Yeah.
he's got to work up then. He's got to come up. He's got to give people the reason to get behind that person. I've been complimented quite a lot on the way I throw a headbutt. So I do a lot of headbutts in what I'm doing. But equally, the people like it because I try and make it mean something. I try and it's important for what I'm doing. It's not a throwaway move. It is start of something. It is the start of me being on top within a match, or it is a means to finally cut a face off. So then we're almost both on an even playing field again. It's got to mean whatever you're doing. It's got to mean something. I'm a big believer in that.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Like the crowd notice. Like it might not, people might not think, because I think sometimes people can like, because when you get into the business, you kind of become a fan and a wrestler.
Yeah.
I think sometimes that fan aspect can kind of slip away, and you forget like what it's like to be a fan. But what it's like to be a fan is you need to be taken on that journey.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and and I can imagine it because I'm only starting now. I can imagine it being very difficult to kind of balance the two because you focus so much on training to wrestle. I can imagine it being. I think I'm probably gonna go through that as well. I can imagine it
I
being very difficult, but like you got to
I'm
take them through that story.
I'm of a belief as well, just to kind of move this on a little bit from what you're saying there. I'm a belief of like it's important that you should know, or you should be well tenured or rehearsed, prepped in a number of styles, just in case somebody else on the show is very similar to what you're doing, or
Mm.
somebody else has already done. Use your finish. So we'll talk about finishes in a little while. Um, so what else have you got in your bag? What else have you got to back that up? I'm a big believer in that. In regardless of you should train to do as much as you can, but you should have your top 10 hits, shouldn't you? So I equate it to this, right? The band Europe, everybody knows they're going to play the final countdown.
Mm.
But what are the other songs that they're going to play in that set list? Do you know any of their other songs? Can you change those songs up that you finish with the final countdown and everybody goes home happy? You play that's on the final countdown. All right, and we're Europe, everyone. Good night. I equate that to like wrestling in that I know what the final countdown is for me as a character. I know I've got a number of, if you like, I've got 3, 4 things to finish with my final song. But I like to be able to mix those couple of other things. If you like, I'm good at 20. I can do 20 things extremely well. I can do more than 20 things well. But to allow other people to do what they're good at, sometimes you've got to low light the good things, your top 10, to allow them to do some of their top 10. I'm a big believer in that.
That's a really good way to put it. I've never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
That's a really good way to put it. So yeah, it makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense because say you harken back to the mesh of styles or clash of styles between you and Clash, two very different wrestlers
Mm-hmm.
work brilliantly well. Sometimes that's the best way. Sammy and Braun, as much as well, for what I was just saying then, that was a good story. It
Mm-hmm.
actually was a good feud. That was back when Braun was actually a monster.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, it does. It makes perfect sense that, and I think the same can be said for a promo as well. I think the exact same can be said for a promo because your final countdown is your go home. What you're gonna say beforehand, and I've been to plenty of promo classes, and the last one I went to before I fell ill was my best promo to date.
Mm-hmm.
It started off with me because I'm training to be a manager. It started off from so I'm in this promo. I'm a manager,
Mm-hmm.
and funnily enough, it was about Clash
Brilliant.
before he was the Red Rose champion. Um, I was talking about him being left behind while Steen won the title, and try and get in his head a little bit. But I was angry. I
Mm-hmm.
started off with bog standard angry promo. Doesn't mean anything because it's bog standard angry. And then I was with Chris Brooker at Future Shock. He looked and went, "Okay, why are you angry?
Yeah.
Shouldn't Clash be the one that's angry? Why are you angry? What do you want? to get myself over.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I want you to do the same thing, same promo again. Slow it down and channel your. And this is where he really kind of outed me as possibly a little bit uncultured. He brought up someone from Lord of the Rings. I haven't watched that because I'm not a fan. And then
Okay.
he brought up someone from Game of Thrones. I haven't watched that. And to which I asked him, "Are you trying to get me killed?"
It's with
Like,
promo stuff. It's again like it's interesting. Like Chris Brooker, I've only heard amazing things about how much he's helped people move along with promo stuff.
he's brilliant.
Um, but yeah, it's the same thing as like as a match, isn't it? Like different styles make matches, and different, like you said about promo stuff.
Mm-hmm.
My promo style is methodical, like my wrestling style, and
Yep.
is condescending. And I've been one of the guys um, at the Mutiny show said to me, "You remind me of like almost like Bill Sykes, like a Victorian um, ne'er do well, or someone who thinks they're of a higher society, of a better moral fiber than other people." But I think if I've got, because I've got that, it allows other people to do their other bits. Like I'm quite happy to be on that island in regards to that, but I've
Mm-hmm.
also got that ability to um, lose my cool a little bit, lose that gentlemanly side, and then pull that moment where you kind of pull it back. That then also tells a little bit of a story as well. But yeah, people should be training the promos as much as they should be training in wrestling. I do believe that.
Yeah.
So it's good that like yourself and other people are seeing that. It's because I really enjoy promo. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's good that other people are starting to too.
I love promos. As I say, training to be a manager, that's going to be my bread and butter as a promo. This right here,
Yeah,
I need to be like the gift of the gab. And Brooker, there's one little tidbit from Brooker. He always says, "A match, a match is a promo is a match."
yeah,
But in the
I see that.
exact same formula. It's the exact same formula. It's just in a different format. And I do think they are very important promos. Actually, I think promos are very important to tell a very big story. Seeing again, I'm gonna reference WWE. I know there's a massive difference between the indies and WWE, but
Yeah,
if you just tune in, you'd say you just tuned in, and like, or someone's watching, and you walk in and sit down, you're not gonna have a clue. You're not gonna have a clue what's going on, who they
mm,
are, what's going on, what happened for them to get to this point. Whereas the build up and the promos cut and the words that I said, sometimes words can cut glass harder than a punch.
yeah,
So it's the build up and that real. How can, in my mind, as when I'm managing Isaac North for example, because he's amazing.
yeah.
Um, say if I'm managing him, how can I get myself and him over so that I am the biggest POS out there, and they will hate me. They will want to throw things. How can I portray that in a promo?
Yeah.
It's not easy. It takes work, but once you, because as I said that the last promo I did, once you hit that lightning in the bottle moment,
Mhm.
and you get that character, and you get the style of promo, and you get like how you want to do it, and that's when the cogs start turning, the wheels start going.
Definitely.
It's absolutely phenomenal. I am massive fan of the promo.
I do hope to. So the next one for LWF is next Friday, I believe, in a multi-man, a
Mm.
six-man tag. So maybe get a couple of the cogs turning then as well. Drop a few lyrics on a few of the mouth breathers.
Such a simple insult, but so good.
Indeed.
You were talking about you wanted to talk about finishes as well.
Yeah,
I
love a good finisher, me. So um, I've I've got a few. I've got a few that I use. I'm quite the fun of. Sorry, I'm quite the fan of a pun. So
yes.
I use a headlock driver, which is called the Tom Hardy driver. Just, I really like Tom Hardy, and I feel like he is. If he was a wrestler, he'd probably be doing the things I do. So I look at Tom Hardy, particularly in things
He's
like,
great.
if you've seen Taboo, I really like that. That's a really good show. Really good show on. I think it was Netflix. So there's a bit of stuff that I'm doing. I've lent on that. So that's the headlock driver. I use the pop up headbutt. That's not really. That's more of like a signature. But
Mm.
equally, I want people to do. It's not mine. This isn't my thing. But other people who wrestle, I feel like people should know that a signature move could finish a match. It's got to be as impactful, or it's got to mean at something as well. So I use, quite as I said earlier, quite a lot of headbutts. The pop up headbutt's one of my favorites. It's not mine. I pinched it off Sarah Logan from WWE. But it's excellent, and
Welcome to wrestling.
yeah. And then the one of the finishes that I used, I've done a couple of sub stuff before, but I was rolling around at training one time with Ben Reed, the benchmark, Ben Reed, to give him his full term, and we got to a point where I'd give him the headbutt, and he's lay on his back, and I've got hold of his legs if I'm going to put him maybe in a figure four or in a submission, and all we did was we worked on it's a throw down, throw the legs down. So then it's like a seesaw sits up, and that was either a headbutt on that or a forearm. Whether the forearm or the elbow is actually, it's called the Idris elbow. So that is my tour de force of pun finishers. But yeah, I like and again, Idris elbow. If I think if Idris elbow was a wrestler, he'd probably be doing some of the things I do. So that's why I've gone with the Idris Elba as the
It's
Idris Elba.
absolutely phenomenal. Oh, I love a good pun.
Love a good pun. So yeah, hopefully I get to throw a few of those out. Now people know what they're called, and I'm not one of those who shout the name of their finisher, but yeah, there's a few anyway. There's a few things anyway.
Yeah, I think it was Getsugi who said he doesn't have a finish. He has a signature.
Yeah.
And I for a while didn't understand that, but then I was like, oh wait, yeah, yeah,
Well,
makes
Getsugi,
sense.
I love Getsugi's character.
That
I
was
don't know
great.
what people think now, but I love him as a face now as well. He was obviously an excellent, very like niggly. I remember wrestling him the first time I wrestled him, and we're doing bits, and he's starting to undo my lace. He's got me in a submission. He's undoing my laces on my boot. I'm like, get off me, man! What are you doing that for?
Who
So
does that?
that's that little mild annoyance where you've then got to sort that out, and it's another moment where he can come and get back on top. I love it. I love that kind of stuff. So again, like massive props to Getski. I think he's class.
Oh, it's
Well, yeah,
phenomenal.
I also think that Getski's one of them guys who, no matter what he does, he could finish you with anything, whether it's a flying knee or it's some kind of subs.
Yeah.
You, you're in deep water when you're in with Getski, and he's in the ascendancy. Yeah, I think he's a really really talented lad.
Blink and he's up there at the top with Getsugi. Getsugi and Eton for me. I've said it for years.
Class. Two very
Years.
good performers, them two.
Yeah, I've said it for years. You can put them anywhere. You'll get a top, like really great,
Yeah,
really great show out of any of them, and especially against each other as well. Like it's like the Joker when he says, I might butcher this." I said, "It's that feels like we'll be doing this forever," sort of thing.
yeah. No, see that.
That's it's just
See
like
that.
that's the dynamic they have, like Rock and Austin.
Yeah,
Like it's the dynamic they have. Like no matter what or word, in at least 1 year, each time you're probably going to see an 18 team versus Get Skirmish, and you're going to love it because
yeah,
it's always great.
yeah. And you're going to see two people who really care about what they're doing as well. There,
Yeah.
like I've seen Aiton on a couple of things, and the last show was the first time I've actually got to speak to him for a prolonged period of time, and we've got very similar like outlooks to wrestling and the whole moments in
Yeah.
wrestling, moments over moves, and who you're working for and things like that. So yeah, he's someone who obviously really gets it as well, and I am fortunate to now call people like him, and you only have to look at someone else like Chase Elkanah, or Chase Martini, as he used to be called, someone
Yes.
who just gets it and gets what they're doing and gets to be able to make kind of connections with people, um, for good and for bad. Um, and it's such a, just harking back to what we're talking about, but it's such a good time to be involved in wrestling at the moment
Yes.
because there are more people who are getting it. Um, and the opportunities, as I said earlier, that I've been afforded to wrestle people like Getski. I haven't wrestled Chase yet. I'd like to, although we're very kind of probably on a very similar trajectory. He's miles ahead of where I am and probably ever will be, but very,
Chase is
very
great. He is great.
character wise. Um, God, you only have to look at people like Harley. I love Harley Hudson.
Oh,
Got to wrestle
God.
Harley very recently at Hooters in Liverpool. Like it, that was an amazing thing. And she's
Wrestling.
right, exactly. Oh my God, right. She is such a good performer and so giving and so like, yeah, do that. I'm fine with that. Are you
She's
fine with it?
wonderful.
Great,
She's
great.
incredible.
And do you know what? Like as an aside, like I've got a daughter, and my daughter loves wrestling, but she loves wrestling because she can see people who she could be. And I'm a big believer in that. Like if
Mm.
you can't see it, you can't be it. So it shows it's not a duty because obviously there's a lot of moving parts. But if you can get to a show, if you can be on a show where it's both male and female performers, and whether it be an intergender thing and it done in the right way, or it being women's wrestling and men's wrestling being held in that same regard, then kids like my daughter and other people who are in the audience can become inspired to become whatever they want. So yeah, like massive, more recently to Harley, just because I had the opportunity to wrestle her. But the women's wrestling scene with people like Rio and with Lizzie and Harley and Lily Winter and people like that, like and Maddie. God, like Maddie's
Oh
not.
my God.
She's a bit of a kid. Like it's amazing. Like she's just untapped raw talent who's only got. Even if she does 10 more years in what she's doing, she'll only be 26. Like
Mhm.
if I do 10 more
She
years,
is
I'll be
16.
I'll be 50 if I'm still doing it in 10 years. So just like that sink in. I probably own clothes that are older than Maddie. So it's mental to even think that. But yeah, like you say about the state of British, sorry, we've kind of tangent here a little bit.
Nah,
Say about like
happens.
the state of British wrestling at the moment. Like I am such an advocate for both men's and women's wrestling, and like
Oh, yeah.
I want people to care as much about it. Where you're getting people like such talented young people like up at top rope like Melissa Fierce and obviously Harley, as I mentioned, and Lily Winter and Lizzie and Rio, and even to a young lesser extent, like these are just people who I know, like Maddie. Um, like it's in such good hands with people like that. And then you look at the people, as I say, who I consider my peers within wrestling at the moment, like and people who I aspire to be like. God, it's so good. It's so good to be a fan. Hopefully, it'll become cool again on the mainstream to be a fan, particularly in the British wrestling scene, because I'm all for that.
I feel like it's getting there. I really do. I do feel like it's getting there. Um, the the inclusion of AEW helps
Mm-hmm.
massively.
Yeah,
We talk about women wrestlers. Tony Storm's doing the absolute work of her goddamn career. Oh my God. Talk about
that's
character wrestling.
that's what I would do if I was Tony Storm.
Yeah, that is perfect.
Hilarious.
She is one of the best performers today. It's if you talk about women's wrestling, Tony Storm, Rhea Ripley,
Yeah.
right there. And like
Well,
Or
So
current gimmicks, that would be an amazing match.
you know what? Like that's it, and it's being willing to talk about women's wrestling, and I'll rock the boat here right straight away. I watch more AEW than I watch WWE, and the stuff I watch WWE for is like I love Cody. I love Cody Rhodes. I've always been a big Cody Rhodes fan. There's a number of other bits that I watch WWE for, but like I am more of a watcher just because it's a bit more accessible to me with the AEW stuff. But I've always kind of wanted to look at that kind of different thing. And like with British wrestling, I went to shows like when it was WCPW and it became Defiant, and I went to and I've the opportunity to be on now, like uh over at Ignition, so that's TNT in Liverpool. And
Huge.
I've recently been on that. I've always been drawn to that kind of not the underdog, but the smaller upstart thing.
Mm.
But yeah, like the AEW stuff is amazing. Like Tony Storm stuff is fantastic, and yeah, like Rhea Ripley is such an athlete, and the aspirational thing where people can look and go, do you know what? Rather than girls now having to say, I want to be like Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Mm-hmm.
It now got that touchstone of the platform that women's wrestling is being put on now, as well as male wrestling, as men's wrestling, is phenomenal. And yeah, I just think about my daughter all the time. And if she ever wants to do it, brilliant. But it doesn't have to, she doesn't have to just be, she doesn't have to look to someone like me when there's so many other good things going on.
It's beautiful. It really is. Like, I'm gonna go on to football for a second here because I watched a clip of a moment. The Yankee Ernum, she's an Irish footballer for Liverpool in the WSL.
Mm-hmm.
She's going down the wing, clips it in, and they tap it in and they score. But her momentum takes her into the barricade. They just
Mm-hmm.
grab onto it and they score. But instead of just grabbing onto the barricade, going over and celebrating, she goes over and it's a young girl in front of her. She goes over the barricade and goes like that and hugs the girl. I'm like, that will stick with that girl for the rest of her life.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
Instagram reel is saved and watched more times than anything. That will stick with her. And it's moments like that, when you go from watching the big leagues of WWE and things like that,
Mm.
and then you start watching the indies.
Yeah.
The first show I watched, Pete Dunne was on it. That's the first ever indie show. Pete Dunne was on it. I got to like about 2 or 3 shows straight of Pete Dunne. I and there's like a Wolfgang and all these world class talents, and you kind of Tony Storm as well,
Yeah.
and you don't realize at the time how lucky you really, really are,
I
and it's mind blowing. So like, but for when you get in, when you start watching the indies, and you realize I'm only a matter of feet away from these people. Oh, but
yeah.
oh, the intermission. Oh, the bad and merch. Oh, can I go and talk to? Now you're friends.
Yeah.
Like, and then you go back and you go back and you go back, and now you're a fan and you've got your favorites, and it takes over your life because that's wrestling. And you get it.
That is wrestling.
There is a reason they say it's a bug because you catch it hard. You
It's
really do.
looking it's looking at like so like if at first when I first started in I was I started as a face. Now I can't, it'll have to be a big thing for me to ever be a face again. It'll have to be quite the story for anyone to book because I love the villainous side of it. Um the regal thing of being I wouldn't say the regal thing of being a born naughty. That's not me at all. Like I'm a rule follower in general every day. My wife and everyone else would say that. However, the the face version of PL Dotson was far more similar to Trent Seven. Like I loved that. I loved his absolute magnetic character. And then you look at British Strong Style and with Pete Dunne and what have you. And as you say, it's so interesting you say that because there's the element of like the finger biting and stuff that I will sometimes do, or like the
Yeah.
nose, and that's very Pete Dunne and others like Regal and even further back British wrestling style like Mick McManus and Jim Breaks and stuff like that. And obviously like Tyler Bate, such and
Yeah.
charismatic and magnetic personality as well. And like you said, like to be around people like that at first, to be at watching shows, and then they go on to become whatever they go on to become. Like, you're right. It's about you feel as a if you're a fan, you feel fortunate, and as a if you ever get a chance to wrestle these people, I do feel fortunate to even be in the same industry. I mean, never consider myself peers with those people, but in the same kind of industry of people who go on to become these amazing, talented people at younger and older ages as well. It's classy, like you say, it's fortuitous.
It is. I love it. It takes over your life, but in the most beautiful way. It's
Definitely.
just fun. And
Mm-hmm.
I implore people when I did my show, the amount of people who'd never watched because it was the first ever wrestling show in that venue. First
Yeah.
thing around my local area. Because down the road from me,
Mm-hmm.
2 minutes drive. That's it. We'd never had anything there. When I brought it up to the owner, because I've known her since I was at Wee Lad.
Mm-hmm.
Her son is in the same year as me. He's been around our small towns I can come. So like we know them and we're friends with her. And she's wonderful. The owner Pat is most laid back person. It's like she's constantly on weed. It's like she's just so mellow and chill.
Yeah.
Don't know if she is.
Not
Probably
the
not.
not the coffee demon that I am, maybe. I've been told I'd live my life run on caffeine. But no, sorry, continue.
It's
It's
no problem at all.
it must be nice then to be able to potentially go back to that venue or venues like that, because like you said, you're bringing something to an area where maybe they've never had that before, and you don't know where you like something unless you see it, and you
Yeah.
can't see it. As I said, if you can't see it, you can't be it. So
Mm-hmm.
you can't be a fan of wrestling unless it's on your doorstep. You can't just watch everything through a lens all the time. It's that visceral feeling of a wrestling show, which I do think hooks people in. But
You
no,
have
it's
to be there live. You have to be. My I remember we went watching WWE a long time ago. We were kids. And my brother's always been an incredible artist. He's one um, degree away, one course away from becoming a properly fully fledged architect, working on some, not I can't say, but big things. Um, so he's very intelligent, but
mm,
very, very good artist. He made an Undertaker and Batista poster,
mm.
two posters up there on cardboard. They were, oh my God. I wish we still had them. I don't know if we do, but they were phenomenal. They were that good.
Mm.
I remember a fan walked up to me and went, "How much?" Is that there? You go. Like, that's just how talented he is. How much are they?
And you wouldn't have done that, probably wouldn't have done that without you saying there about being at a show. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. The things that being there and being part of a show, being part of an event brings out of people is it's outstanding. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, yeah. Like hearing that gong live,
Yeah.
or especially when you're young as well.
Mm. Listen, you don't
I'm
have to be
so lucky to
young.
have seen him live. Oh,
We
true.
we went to as a fan. I went with one of my friends who is he's considering dipping his toe back into wrestling, and I don't know what
Oh, cool.
how interested he's going to be in that. But we went to a show pre-Christmas, which was a live show, a WWE live show. You, the age I am, and Cody's music comes on, or Seth Rollins' music come on. It's like you said, it's the reaction, it's the visceral reaction that comes out of people. So yeah, it don't matter what age, and we are. I am, as much as I probably play it up and play it down that I am better than people, I am your better, I'm everyone's better. That I get a buzz off that people come to cheer people and boo people and that have you. You're a performer at the end of the day. I hope if you can get that reaction, as I mentioned earlier, out of people, then you're doing the right thing, aren't you?
Yeah, it's the most important thing. It's what you're there for. Fans paid the tickets to see you, and as you said before, they deserve a performance.
Yes. What else would you like to talk about this evening, then, sir?
Uh, I think I think for now we've exhausted our
We've
conversation for now,
been
and
quite the journey, haven't we?
I've thoroughly loved it.
Me too. Me too. I do hope they have the opportunity to come back on at a later date. Maybe talk a little bit about further on my LWF, Infinite Promotions,
Yeah.
my journeys further on with those guys. As I say, I'm absolutely blessed to have that opportunities with those guys to do what I do with them for them. So yeah, I cannot thank the guys at LWF, the guys at Infinite Promotions, the guys at TNT, where I'm working using Ignition as a bit of a platform, up at Top Rope. Those are kind of the places I've wrestled for the most. So if I never get a chance to say it to them in person, and I do try to always be respectful and thankful and make sure that people know how much I appreciate it. But yeah, just to put this out there into podcast or vodcast land, I am eternally grateful for the opportunities that I'm afforded and for the people I work with. So yeah, thank you for everything for the people I've worked with so far. Sounds like a retirement thing. I'm not retiring, not at all. And if I ever am retiring, just because it may be a work, it may be a story. So if you ever just second guess
Mark Henry all over again.
it, I love that stuff, man.
Oh, it was one of the best things ever.
It will just check in first if I ever am actually taking my boots off in the ring, because if I am, just be careful. I'm not going to turn around and whack someone square in the face with one.
If I'd be into that. As long as it's not me. I've
Or
already been punched by the void and he hits.
can't promise it won't be. But no, it's all part of the story, isn't it? It's all part of the story. So yeah, no, thank you for having me on. I do appreciate it. It's nice to get on and have a bit of a chat and
Yeah.
put some of my thoughts out there with you. So no, I appreciate you.
Yeah, one question.
Go for it.
Where can we find you and what do you have coming up? The floor is
Nice.
yours.
So where you can find me, as I say, I am mostly wrestling for at the moment for the guys there at LWF. So I am on a show for them this Friday, and that I'll just check my dates. That is Friday, is it February the 23rd? Friday, February 23rd, I am on for LWF. The following day, I'm on for Infinite Promotions over in Netherton. So this weekend is a double, the much maligned double for a performer. So yeah, I'm on for them, for both of those. I'm all on socials of a person of befitting my age. So I am on Twitter, which is Savage Gent. I think it is Savage Gent 2016. And I am on Instagram as the Savage Gent, or sorry, Dotson PL, because somebody else had taken Savage Gent.
Oh,
So yeah, I'm on Dotson PL on Instagram. If anyone wants to drop me a little follow, I would appreciate that. Get those numbers up.
make sure you do.
I have merch at shows. So yeah, it's hard, isn't it? You have merch at shows. I don't want to be one of those heels who gets too far over, but I've got t-shirts and stickers if people particularly like to cheer for a bad guy, for a heel, for a villainous, a voracious villain like me. I do
My
have a
mum.
bit. Oh, you are
She's a stickler for a heel.
brilliant, brilliant. I've got a bit of merch there, and I've got some more merch coming out as well that I'll have at most shows yet as well. So yeah, and yeah, for the rest of the year, I've got a bit of stuff for LWF and for Infinite Promotions, and also for Ignition for TNT, and one or two up at Top Rope in Accrington. So yeah, that's where you can see me, and hopefully where you can find me. As I said, I've covered on socials, and yeah, at a show, come and say hello. I may bat you away, whether you are a gentleman or a lady or one of your feral children. But do it in all good. I do it in good jest anyway.
Pierre Dotson, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on.
No problem. And as I do say to most people who I do speak to, the pleasure has been all yours.
Beautiful,
No, no, thank you so
beautiful.
much. I'll leave it with you on that. No, thanks so
There you
much.
go.
Great.
See you next time.
Cheers.